Hi, hello. I'm at UBC today. Most of my stuff has been preparing for courses, but it's a SimPEG meeting, so let's start talking about some SimPEG. Let's see, add your names to the attendance list if you don't mind. Add quick reports. Not too many people here today, so probably have a little bit from everyone if they feel like sharing. We had the seminar last week that seemed to go off well again. Good attendance. Has that been posted to the YouTube account yet? Okay. Yep. So there should be able to find it on the GeoSci YouTube account. And that's one kind of agenda item that I had. Was there anything else people wanted to discuss about after we do quick reports, the general big picture stuff? Doesn't seem like it. Okay, so I will start with some quick reports. So I started up the discretized logo doc. There's a link there in the notes. I'm going to leave it as anyone can view that if they have the link. So I'm going to post that link onto the Slack. If anyone wants to add it, I think it'd be easier for them to add it to the Slack channel than just edit that document without us knowing who it was.
Do you want to change it to comments so people could leave comments, or would you prefer to keep that discussion in Slack?
I prefer to keep it in Slack.
Okay.
At least, so it's at least set to viewing right now. So you should all be able to see those three options that we had at some point. Those are all listed there. Yeah, so I'm going to put that on Slack, and then maybe we can have a vote over the weekend by Monday and see what people are thinking. And then once that happens, we'll most likely just agree on one, and then we'll put it in and merge in the documentation updates. That should happen pretty quick then. Other than that, yeah, a lot of my work has gone into preparing for the class. So I haven't been able to devote too much time to SimPEG at this second. But there's a few things on my radar as far as a few PRs that need to get a last minute look through. On discretized, there's one related to a nearest lookup that I need to get to. And then the only other thing with the NumPy documentation building that we've got with all those doc strings, Devin, is we need to modify the build so it is building correctly on the testing environment, right? Because it's still not installing that collapsed option, so it's failing because of that on all the everywhere it tries to build a documentation, it's failing because of that.
Yeah, that one was a little bit interesting because I remember it not being compatible with the latest version of Sphinx. I think it was 3.6.5 or something. Mm-hmm. So yeah, my only concern with some of this is to make sure that it's still a stable local build on any operating system. So yeah, we need it to build online, but it would be nice to not run into weird finicky things if someone's doing a local build of the website as well.
Yeah, my thought on that is it usually happens with that automated links to GitHub.
Yeah, 99% of the time. So
at least that's what the issues that you were having were. So my thought would just be we can do a I think I might have added some more try and accept statements in there that just default to something in case, or there might be a simple flag that you could switch to, like, okay.
Yeah, I think I did something simple and then you made it much more robust.
Maybe, yeah, we'll check it. But I saw it when I was putting together a documentation on a different, I think it was maybe the GPG, not the GPG, one of the other website documentation that I was working on recently that I liked how they did it. And I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. There's just like a small flag, like a true or false flag in the config file that will that you can change. Like, okay, I actually do want to do the GitHub links versus just local links.
Yeah, I mean, I also saw some other options for collapsing. This was just the easiest thing to implement. If it already exists, why write something myself? But I did see some people make some kind of extensions or whatever it is. They made something in the repository that would do it on its own. So they managed it internally.
Yep.
I wouldn't necessarily know how to do that quickly, but it is an option if we think this is really incompatible and it's a pain.
I mean, I like the GitHub links. I like when it's on the documentation, it links right to the actual source code.
Oh, sorry, I'm going back to the collapse.
Oh, the
stuff.
collapse thing. Gotcha. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get it figured out pretty quick, and then we'll get it merged in. It shouldn't take too much. If you can, do you remember where that example was that you were looking at?
Not really, but I could try and dig it out. But I think it was written for an older version of Sphinx that maybe this was done before somebody made collapse. So it might, their approach might even be obsolete.
Gotcha. Okay, well, just share it on the Discord channel in Slack if you don't mind. We can go from there.
Yeah, I'll see if I can dig it out.
Okay. That's about all I've got for Discretize and SimPEG related items. Thibaut, I see you've added on a bit here, if you don't mind going next.
Yeah. So, like, I shared that on Slack at some point already, but it's exciting news that scikit-learn have decided to move on to a 1.0 version. Like, and I think Lindsay commented also that it seems that they did something like quite what we're planning to do with SimPEG and Discretize. Like, they did enough that they can consider it a 1.0. I started going through that, and there is some API naming convention change that seems to break PGI at the moment. So I'm gonna work on that, and it should not be too bad. Like, and probably I'm gonna include that in the PGI improvement branch that I've been working on lately, and I'm actually gonna focus on that for this afternoon and the rest of the week, whatever this API change things, and add what I wanted to add to that PR and probably get it like ready for review by the end of the week. But yeah, no, that's cool to see that they moved to 1.0.
Yeah. Anyone else care to share some updates over the last week? Or start just going around and picking on people?
I figured I got that MPI problem figured. Yeah, my results weren't working out very well because one of my nodes was, yeah, it's just not, it's not functioning as it should. So yeah, the MPI solution is working pretty well now. However, still, it's going to take a lot of restructuring of the SimPEG stuff just to plug it in. That's why I'm also working on the side with the Kubernetes side of the cluster, because it just plugs in really nice. But right now I'm just having a problem with setting up the environment correctly. I just can't seem to get the right SimPEG to load up everything. I was actually having a few problems. The PGI was giving me some issues on installing it on like a pod or Kubernetes pod. It was the _checkx. Yeah, it was. I was loading in the update or like a really recent scikit, and that's what.
Yeah, so that's one of the changes that they made in 1.0. So this one, like, so maybe at the moment, a quick thing is like, I think like in the requirement install, like like they changed the API of the clustering quite a bit in the last year.
Oh, okay.
So like I think I was putting like scikit-learn above a certain version, like 22 or 24, something like that. But it needs to be below 1 also at the moment. So maybe check the requirement and the version I put in there, and maybe just install that specific version.
Yeah,
and that should work.
Yeah, that got me around that. I found the exact version that you had up on the requirements. So that solved that problem, but now I'm still having some other environmental problems. Yeah, I just can't get SimPEG to quite function. I can launch Dask, like just a simple Dask multiplications and simple functions like that on the Kubernetes cluster. So it's just getting my environment ready, and then that'll be a better solution because it'll just plug right into the code that Dom and I have there on tiled simulations. So, but yeah, I got up to that, and then I've started going over the code cov stuff. Actually, I might bug you, Joe, just to see if I'm covering everything right and understanding it later today.
Okay, sounds good.
That's about all.
On my side, I started doing the refactoring of the regularization, pulling out properties out. I think I'm pretty much halfway through. It runs through the simple / Tikhonov style. I need to go to the sparse and then update the PGI part of it, but it should be a lot simpler than it was. And probably gonna need another weekend to be able to get through it. And that's it for me. How do you add a section in the curve notes? Like I see Joe and Thibaut, you guys have like a block. How do I add a block underneath?
There's a right next to it on the left of it. There's a like you should be able to add little plus buttons. There's little plus signs. If you click inside a block, they show up.
Do you want to screen share, Joe?
Sure.
Yeah.
So like there's insert content block buttons here.
Oh shit. Yeah, okay. It's fucking pale.
That'll put it in a new block.
All right. Yeah, see ya.
Devin, have you been up to anything SimPEG related recently?
Not especially. We've got some stuff that needs to be worked on for more GIF tools, UBC GIF related. So I've kind of had to put those code validation things on hold. One thing that we're working on and that we may end up putting into SimPEG at some point is working with SAM data. So you would have a time domain EM source, and you'd have I guess a B field receiver. You'd have something basically like a magnetometer, and it would be measuring the projection of the B field onto the Earth field. And then, yeah, working with GIF codes to be able to model that and interface with that. It's pretty much what I'm working on these days.
Okay. Ben, have you been using SimPEG much recently? Playing around with it?
Yep. Yeah, I actually found a couple holes in the Dask implementation for IP. We're just trying to incorporate IP into our drivers here, so on GeoApps. So yeah, did a little bit of work on our local branch that would eventually hopefully make its way into the SimPEG's official tiled simulations. But yeah.
Cool. So just by holes, do you just mean like areas where it wasn't doing what you expected it to? Or?
Yeah, that it wasn't set up to be fully tiled for IP, I guess.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. Sounds good. Look forward to seeing it when it eventually gets in, hopefully. Lindsay, have you been able to do anything SimPEG related?
I gave a talk,
Yeah.
so talked about it. So I attended the AEGC on Monday. There's a workshop on airborne EM. I'll share the slides here if anyone wants to take a look. It was a really good workshop. A couple of the things that were, well, so the SimPEG, or talked a bit about sort of SimPEG and open tools, and we were the ones who went first, which was kind of fun. Had some good questions and good discussion. I think it was overall well received. Jamin was asked a good question around, some of the terminology about joint inversions, and that's something Thibaut, we've talked a lot about. What does it mean to be doing a joint inversion? What do we actually mean when we use the word multiphysics? And those are things that are not sort of well established in the community. And so it was good that he surfaced that, and so we had a bit of discussion around that. Two of the other things that came up that are just kind of one thing that's got two items, I guess, that's perhaps just something maybe interesting to keep on folks' radars. One of the things that seems to be quite important in a lot of work in Australia, there's a lot of talk around airborne inversions with both IP and SPM effects. And so there's a lot of work that's been going into some of the 1D codes that are used there. So something of interest that we might want to consider down the line.
I mean, we do have a way of modeling it in 3D now already in SimPEG. I don't think it's up to the standard maybe that some of the other codes are, but we can already do a lot of that stuff right now.
That's good. Glad everything went well. Doug, have you been up to any SimPEG related items?
No, not really. I just follow Lindsay around and check her talks. Yeah, but there is some stuff that's happening. A lot of stuff on the GIF tool side, and GIF side, which actually has some major implications for SimPEG development and funding and stuff like this. So that's kind of where I've been investing my efforts.
Thank you for doing that. Always great. Well, is there anything anyone else would like to share? Any thoughts to bring up? I'll post a link to that Google Doc in the Slack there. It's already on the meeting notes for the Discretize logo. And then other than that, I don't have anything else for this week for you guys. Maybe we'll hopefully have a longer meeting next week, and I'll be able to share more updates with you. Finally getting into the swing of things with the class, and it's rolling along nicely now.
That's
Thanks for
excellent.
leading.
Well, that first week of school, first 2 weeks, is always so hectic. So it's just like a couple of weeks out of your life from your regular routine. But yeah, after a couple of weeks, you can get back to it. So it's good. And I'm glad your class is going well, Joe. That's great.
Seems like the students are enjoying it. At least I imagine smiles underneath their face masks.
Well, if they can smile while looking at your face mask, that says quite a bit.
For those who didn't see, I had a big shark mask on the first day of class. Anyway, okay, well, it was nice seeing you guys all this week. Nice catching up again quick. I don't mind calling meetings early as much as you guys know that. So
Thanks for leading, man. See you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.